On her wedding day, just minutes before saying, "I do," a poor village girl discovered a secret so deep, so painful, that it changed everything. If you think you've seen shocking wedding stories before, wait until you hear this one. What she discovered. You won't believe it. Before we go any further, can I ask you for a small favor? This story took me days to write, record, and edit, every frame, every emotion, every sound. It cost you nothing to support me, but it truly means everything to me. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you have not, and comment your location below. I want to know where my amazing viewers are watching from. I read every comment and I will be giving shout out in my next video. In a small village where the sun rose over dusty roads and market stalls, there lived a young woman named Amara. Her hands were rough from work, her back bent from carrying fruit baskets that weighed almost as much as she did. Every morning, before the roosters crowed, she would wake to help her widowed mother prepare oranges, mangoes, and bananas to sell at the roadside. Amara's life was simple, but rich in something money could never buy: a pure heart. Her mother would often say to her, "My daughter, we may not have gold in our pockets, but we have gold in our souls. Never let this world steal that from you." And Amara believed it, even when other girls mocked her torn sandals. Even when wealthy families passed by without looking at her. Even when her stomach growled at night because there wasn't enough food. She believed kindness was enough. But life, as you know, has a way of testing what we believe. One afternoon, a man appeared at her fruit stand. He was tall, handsome, with kind eyes that seemed to see beyond her torn dress and dusty feet. He bought 3 oranges. The next day he came back and bought 5. The day after that he bought a whole basket. His name was Daniel. At first, Amara thought he was just another customer. But then she noticed something. He never bargained. He always paid more than she asked. And he always smiled at her like she mattered. "Why do you keep coming back?" she finally asked one day, her voice shy, uncertain. Daniel looked at her, and his smile softened. "Because your fruit tastes like honesty. And in this world, that's rare." He didn't tell her the truth. Not yet. Daniel was not a simple man buying fruit. He was the son of one of the wealthiest families in the region, a family that owned estates, businesses, land that stretched as far as the eye could see. But Daniel had grown tired of people who loved him for his money, who smiled at him because of his name. So he disguised himself, dressed in simple clothes, worked at a mechanic shop, lived like an ordinary man. He wanted to find someone who would love him for who he was, not what he had. And in Amara, he found her. Weeks turned into months. Their conversations grew longer. He would stay after buying fruit, talking to her about dreams, about life, about the stars that appeared over the village at night. Amara's mother watched them carefully. "Be careful, my daughter," she warned. "Men with kind eyes can have cruel intentions." But Amara had already fallen. And so had Daniel. One evening, as the sun painted the sky in shades of gold and crimson, Daniel knelt before her fruit stand and pulled out a small box. Inside was a simple ring, not expensive, not flashy, but beautiful in its honesty. "Amara," he said, his voice trembling. "I know I'm not much. Just a mechanic with dirty hands and big dreams. But I love you. Will you marry me?" Amara's heart exploded with joy and fear all at once. She wanted to say yes, but shame held her back. "Daniel," she whispered, tears filling her eyes. "I am nobody. I have nothing. You deserve someone better." He stood, took her hands, and looked into her eyes with such intensity that she felt the world stop spinning. "You are not nobody. You are everything I've been searching for. Please, say yes." And through her tears, she did. But love, as beautiful as it is, does not exist in a vacuum. When Daniel brought Amara home to meet his family, the mansion doors opened to reveal a world she had only seen in dreams. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, servants in crisp uniforms moving like ghosts through hallways lined with gold-framed portraits. And standing at the top of the grand staircase was Daniel's mother. She was a woman carved from ice and pride. Her dress was expensive, her jewelry blinding, her eyes cold as a winter storm. She looked at Amara the way one looks at dirt tracked onto a clean floor. "So, she said, her voice sharp as broken glass. This is the girl. Daniel stepped forward. Mother, this is Amara. The woman I'm going to marry. His mother descended the stairs slowly, deliberately, her heels clicking like a countdown. She circled Amara, inspecting her like livestock at a market. She smells like fruit, she said with disgust. And her dress, is that what poor people wear to meet their future family? Mother! Quiet. She turned to Amara, her lips curling into a cruel smile. Tell me, girl, how much do you want? 10,000? 20? Name your price to disappear. Amara's heart shattered. But she lifted her chin and said, I don't want your money. I love your son. The mother's eyes turned venomous. You love him? You don't even know who he is. I know his heart. That's enough. If you believe true love should win, hit that subscribe button now. Don't miss stories like this. The mother's face twisted with rage. She pulled Daniel aside, her voice low and deadly. You marry that girl, and I will expose a truth that will destroy her life. Do you hear me? I will break her so completely, she will wish she never met you. Daniel's jaw tightened. You can't threaten me into abandoning her. We'll see. And as Daniel walked away, his mother made a phone call. Find everything about that girl. Her family. Her history. Everything. And if there's nothing to find, create something. The trap was being set. The wedding preparations began, but they were haunted by shadows. Amara's mother struggled to afford even a simple dress for her daughter. She sold her only jewelry, her cooking pots, everything she had. But it still wasn't enough. One night, Daniel secretly visited a tailor and paid for the most beautiful wedding gown, white as clouds, embroidered with delicate flowers. But he made the tailor promise never to tell Amara it was from him. Let her think it's a miracle, he said softly. Meanwhile, Daniel's mother hired a wedding planner. But this woman's job wasn't to plan a wedding, it was to sabotage it. The venue was changed last minute to a smaller, shabbier location. The flowers ordered were wrong colors. The cake was cancelled and had to be remade the night before, and through it all, Amara heard whispers. She doesn't belong here. Poor girl thinks she can marry into wealth. This wedding is a joke. Each whisper was a knife in her heart. She began to doubt herself. Doubt Daniel. Doubt everything. One night, she sat alone in her small room, holding the wedding invitation, tears streaming down her face. Maybe they're right, she whispered to the darkness. Maybe I'm not enough. But morning came, and with it her wedding day. The morning sun rose with unusual brightness, as if the heavens themselves were watching what would unfold. Amara put on her wedding gown, the miraculous dress that had appeared like an answered prayer. She looked at herself in the cracked mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. Her mother braided flowers into her hair, her hands shaking. My daughter, she said, her voice thick with emotion. No matter what happens today, remember, you are worthy. You have always been worthy. Amara nodded, but couldn't speak. Fear had stolen her voice. The church was small but filled with people. Some were there out of love. Others out of curiosity. A few out of cruelty, waiting to see the poor girl humiliate herself. Daniel stood at the altar, his eyes searching for her. And then, the music began. But before Amara could step outside, an old woman appeared in the doorway. She was bent with age, her skin weathered like ancient bark, her eyes clouded but urgent. Wait, the old woman said, her voice rasping. You must see this before you walk down that aisle. Amara's mother stepped forward. Who are you? The old woman pulled out an envelope, yellowed with age, sealed with wax that had cracked. His mother paid me to give you this today. She said it would save you from making the biggest mistake of your life. Amara's hands trembled as she took the envelope. Her mother tried to stop her. Don't open it, Amara. It's a trick. But Amara's fingers were already tearing it open. Inside was a photograph, a DNA test, and a letter. The photograph showed a baby wrapped in a blue blanket. The DNA test had names she didn't recognize. And the letter said, Daniel is not who you think he is. And you are not who you think you are. The man you're about to marry knows the truth. He's been lying to you from the beginning. You are the daughter of our family's former driver, a man who stole from us and died in shame. Your mother has been hiding this from you your entire life. Walk down that aisle, and you'll become part of a family built on your father's betrayal." The world tilted. Amara's vision blurred. Her breathing stopped. The letter fell from her hands like a dead bird. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." Her mother grabbed her shoulders. "Amara, listen to me. Is it true?" Amara screamed, tears pouring down her face. "Is my father, did he?" Her mother's silence was answer enough. If you're still watching, comment "truth" right now, because what happens next will shock you even more. Amara walked down that aisle like a ghost. Every step felt like walking toward her own funeral. The flowers blurred. The faces of guests melted into shadows. The music sounded like a funeral dirge. Daniel saw her face and his smile vanished. Something was wrong. When she reached the altar, he whispered, "Amara, what happened?" She couldn't answer. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. The priest began. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today." And then, a voice shattered the ceremony like breaking glass. "Stop this wedding." Every head turned. Daniel's mother stood from her seat, her face twisted with righteous fury. In her hand, she held a copy of the DNA test. "This woman," she announced to the entire church, her voice echoing off the walls, "is a fraud. She is the daughter of a thief. Her father stole from our family and died in disgrace. She has been lying to my son, manipulating him with her poverty act." Gasps rippled through the crowd like a wave. Amara felt her knees buckle. Daniel caught her. "Mother, what are you doing?" Daniel shouted. "Saving you from a mistake." She marched forward, waving the papers like weapons. "Her father worked for us. He stole money, jewelry, documents. When we discovered it, he ran. And then he died, probably from guilt." Amara was sobbing now, her wedding dress soaking with tears. "It's not true," she choked out. "It can't be." But Daniel's mother wasn't finished. "She knew. She's known all along. She targeted you, Daniel. She researched you, found out who you were, and set this entire thing up. This poor girl act? It's a con." The crowd began to murmur. Accusations flew like arrows. Daniel held Amara tighter, his own eyes filled with confusion and pain. And then, a voice. Commanding. Final. "Enough." Daniel's father stood from his seat at the front of the church. He was a man who rarely spoke. A man whose presence alone commanded respect. He walked slowly toward his wife, his face unreadable. "Sit down," he said quietly. "No," she hissed. "They need to know the truth." "Then let's tell them the real truth." The church went silent. Daniel's mother's face drained of color. "What are you talking about?" she whispered. The father turned to face the congregation. "My wife is correct about one thing," he began, his voice heavy with decades of buried shame. "Amara's father did work for us. His name was Joseph. He was our driver for 15 years. Loyal. Honest. Kind." He paused, his eyes glistening. "He didn't steal from us. He discovered something. Something my wife didn't want anyone to know." Daniel's mother lunged forward. "Stop. Don't you dare." "He found out," the father continued, his voice breaking, "that my wife was embezzling money from our company. Hundreds of thousands. She was funneling it to secret accounts, preparing to leave me, to take everything." The crowd exploded in whispers. Joseph confronted her. Told her he would go to the authorities. So she framed him. She planted stolen items in his car. She told everyone he was a thief. And when he tried to clear his name, the father's voice cracked completely. She had him killed. The church erupted in chaos. Daniel staggered backward. "Mother Snow?" His mother's face was a mask of rage and terror. "You have no proof." "I have everything." The father pulled out his phone, holding it up. "Joseph's widow gave me recordings. Letters. Evidence she's been holding for 20 years, waiting for the right moment." He turned to Amara, tears streaming down his weathered face. "Your father was a hero. He died trying to do the right thing. God forgive me. I was too much of a coward to stop it. I let my wife destroy him. I let her lie. I let an innocent man's name be dragged through the mud. Amara couldn't stand. Her legs gave out completely. Daniel caught her, holding her as she wept. The DNA test? The father continued. Created by my wife to break you two apart. The old woman who gave you the envelope? She was Joseph's best friend. My wife paid her to deliver it, thinking it would destroy you. He looked at his wife with disgust. But what my wife didn't know is that the old woman came to me first. Told me everything. Gave me the chance to finally do the right thing. Police sirens wailed outside. Officers entered the church. Daniel's mother screamed, clawed, fought as they put her in handcuffs. You've ruined everything, she shrieked at her husband. Everything. No, he said quietly. You did. 20 years ago. And as they dragged her away, her screams echoing through the church, the crowd sat in stunned silence. If you believe justice always finds its way, drop a like right now and let me know in the comments. The church was quiet now. People didn't know whether to leave or stay. Daniel still held Amara, both of them shaking, crying, broken. The father approached them slowly. Amara, he said, his voice gentle, I cannot undo what my family did to yours. I cannot bring your father back. But I can tell you this, he was one of the best men I ever knew. And you are his daughter. That is something to be proud of. Amara looked up at him, her face streaked with tears and wedding makeup. Why didn't you stop her sooner? The father's eyes filled with shame. Because I was weak. Because I chose comfort over courage. Because I told myself that staying silent was protecting my family. But all I did was protect evil. He knelt before her, this powerful man, kneeling before a poor village girl. Forgive me, he whispered. Please. Amara stared at him for a long moment. And then she said something that shocked everyone. My father used to tell me, she said softly, that holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. He said forgiveness is not for them. It's for you. She placed her hand on the old man's shoulder. I forgive you. The father broke down completely, sobbing like a child. Daniel looked at Amara, his eyes red, his heart shattered. I didn't know, he said. I swear to you, I didn't know any of this. I know, she whispered. Do you? His voice cracked. Do you still want to marry me? After all of this? Amara looked around the church. At the scattered guests. At the ruined ceremony. At the wreckage of what was supposed to be the happiest day of her life. And then she looked at Daniel. Really looked at him. At the man who had loved her when she had nothing. Who had never treated her as less than. Who had stood beside her even as his world collapsed. Yes, she said. But not like this. 3 hours later, the church was empty except for a handful of people. Amara's mother. Daniel's father. The old woman who had tried to warn her. A few friends who had stayed out of genuine love. No decorations. No elaborate cake. No photographers capturing perfect moments. Just two people, standing before God and the few who truly loved them. The priest, still shaken but deeply moved, performed the ceremony again. When he asked Daniel to recite his vows, Daniel took Amara's hands and spoke from a place deeper than words. I don't need a mansion wedding. I don't need wealth, status, or my family's approval. With you by my side, I have everything. You're my truth. My courage. My home. Amara smiled through her tears. And you are mine. I now pronounce you husband and wife. This time, when Daniel kissed his bride, there were no gasps of scandal. Only the sound of pure, hard-won joy. If this story has moved you, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss stories like this. 6 months later, Amara and Daniel lived in a small house at the edge of the village. Not a mansion. Not a palace. Just a home filled with laughter and fruit baskets and love. Daniel's father visited often. He had sold much of the company, using the money to compensate families his wife had harmed over the years. He was lighter now. Free. Amara's mother lived with them, finally able to rest after years of backbreaking work. And the old woman, Joseph's friend, became like a grandmother to them all, telling stories of the man who had died for truth. One evening, as the sun set in brilliant orange and gold, Amara and Daniel sat on their porch, watching children play in the dusty road. "Do you ever regret it?" Daniel asked quietly. "Choosing this life instead of the one we could have had?" Amara took his hand and placed it over her heart. "This is the life I always wanted. Not the mansion. Not the money. Truth." Daniel smiled and kissed her forehead. And in that moment, they were the richest people in the world. This story teaches us something powerful. That true love isn't about money, position, or appearances. It's about truth, even when truth is painful. It's about loyalty, even when loyalty costs everything. It's about choosing courage over comfort, justice over silence, and love over fear. Amara could have walked away. She could have let shame and lies bury her. But she chose to stand. To forgive. To love anyway. And in doing so, she didn't just find her own freedom. She set everyone else free too. Now I want to hear from you. What would you have done if you were in Amara's shoes? Would you have forgiven Daniel's father? Would you have continued with the wedding? Drop your answer in the comments below. And if this story touched your heart, subscribe to this channel for more powerful tales of love, justice, and redemption. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, because stories like this, they remind us what it means to be human. Thank you for watching. And remember, your truth is your power. Never let anyone take it from you.